Hey Heather,
Hi.
I know a lot of people hear like things like you should blog consistently and just write what you know, or like be yourself, just write what you know, or don't write any blog posts unless you've done keyword research first. And at first glance, like I think some people think that that's good advice, but those are actually things that I consider bad blog advice.
Mm,
Controversial, I know, but that's what we're talking
tell
about
me
today.
more.
Yeah, I think that like this comes down to something that I talk about a lot, which is that as coaches or service providers or product sellers, people who actually run a business, like your main
Mhm.
identity as a business owner, you have a product that you sell or a service that you sell, and you have a blog to sell that product or service. It's so easy to follow outdated blog advice that's really like out there in because there's so much of it out there that's really not meant
Mhm.
for your business model, that's actually meant for people who are bloggers and monetize differently. And so today we're going to talk about some of those things. And next week we're going to talk about a few more of them as well because it's a big topic and there's a lot of things people are doing when they want to have a blog that helps them sell their offers that is either a huge waste of time for them with their business model or actually like working against them, like actually counterproductive for the growth of your audience and for selling your stuff with your blog. So that's the plan today. Bad blog
That's
advice.
that's the plan today. And I think some of these, as we dive in and talk about each of them, I think this sort of advice is also just detrimental to overall like getting started and just being confident and courageous enough to put out work that you might not like the first time around or may not fit what you're doing the first time around. And maybe you're going to have to go back and change it or update it or whatever. But sometimes you just
Yeah.
have to start in order to
Mhm.
get to where you're going.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. Yeah,
and if you,
oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I think I know where you're going with this. Yes. Hmm.
yeah, I was going to say, if you follow some people's advice to a T, then you may never get the results that you're looking for.
Right, because you might not start or commit to
Yeah.
doing the thing and doing it. I agree with you. I do think that some of the bad blog advice, I think what I hear you saying, this is what it triggered for me anyway, when you said it, is like one of the reasons it's bad advice is because it gets in your way of making progress, meaning like it triggers perfectionism.
Yeah.
And then you think like, oh, I shouldn't even be doing this because I don't know enough about it yet to do it, or I haven't done these other things that people say I'm supposed to do first. And like I said, some of those things are things that you don't have to do first in order to start a blog and get clients with it, which is, the goal for my students anyway. So yeah, I agree with you. It's like this kind of like it works against you, but also like in another way that it works against you is it triggers that perfectionism and makes it so that you just like overthink things and never start.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times with business owners, if we overthink and we don't start the blog that we would love to have in our business, the end result of that often ends up being that we stay stuck on the content treadmill of putting content on social media and being dependent on social media and thinking that social media is the only and best way to market.
Yeah.
Um, and there's so much like desire out there these days to lean away from social media and lean away from disposable content and lean further into evergreen content. And really, one of the very best places to put evergreen content is right on your own website, on your blog.
Yeah.
So a lot of this bad blog advice, you're right. It's like it's basically keeping people from even having a blog. And they know on some level that like they want it, but they don't pull the trigger because they're looking at some of this bad blog advice and thinking like, oh, I'd have to follow that when you actually
Yeah.
don't even have to follow it. So
It
yeah.
gets people stuck too, like with decision making. So you might start a blog and you might think, oh, okay, well, I need to
Mhm.
blog consistently, which was what you
Mhm.
mentioned in your opener.
Yep.
And consistency to whoever is teaching them is twice a week. How in the hell am I ever going to get anything done if I'm blogging twice a week?
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, right now, if you Google like how often should you post a blog, right? And you have like Google like no context or whatever, or if you ask ChatGPT, most likely because most of the information out there on the interwebs, if you will, is for people who are bloggers. You're
Hmm.
probably going to get a blogger-centric answer. And it's going to be like,
Yeah.
well, in order to monetize your blog and get to the point where you're making $1,000 a month in ads, which is what a lot of bloggers think is like kind of minimum viable income from a blog, then, you need to blog twice a week. And then meanwhile, you're over here as a coach or a service provider or someone who has an e-commerce product and you just want to have a blog so that your blog can help you sell your paid offer.
Yeah.
You're not trying to host like ads through Mediavine and make $1,000 a month that way. You can make a lot more money by selling your products and services. You see that and you're like, oh, bummer. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, I guess a blog isn't going to work for me. And I'm like, no, I just want people to know, like, again, that's blogger advice. It's not advice for you. Yeah, so that is my first piece of bad blog advice that we want to talk about today is this idea that you have to blog consistently. And
Forever.
yeah, and forever. Exactly, exactly. And I have a bunch of things to say about it. So let's see, where should we start? I'm trying to think. Like, um, I guess we should start by me explaining that I don't think that consistency is generally a bad thing, but like you said earlier, or like you were alluding to, like if it gets in your way of doing it at all, then it's going to be a problem. And it does, I think, for a lot of
Hmm.
people when they think about blogging, um, you know, bi-weekly or weekly or even monthly, to be honest,
Yeah.
which you don't have to do. You don't have to do monthly forever, and you don't even have to do monthly with the method that I teach. Um, that does trigger that perfectionism, and you think, well, I'm not going to be able to commit to that. That's actually going to feel like I'm on the content treadmill. I'm already having a hard time staying consistent on these other platforms that I am
Hmm.
on with short form content. How am I going to stay, quote, consistent with long form content? um, in this way. And so people just kind of give up on the idea. And then, like I said, they stay dependent on social media. They stay on the content treadmill or the hamster wheel, as some people call it. So, um,
I
inside,
really,
okay.
oh, sorry.
To wrap up the thought, and I'll throw the mic back to you, is like inside of the program that I teach, high leverage content, we build a capsule blog library, which is 12 to
Mhm.
20 blog posts. And this is the way I did it back in the day. And I've done it again recently with 18 blog posts that cover all the key things that your audience needs to feel ready to buy.
Yep.
And then we stop blogging. And instead of focusing on putting out new blogs all the time, we focus more on recirculating the existing blog post content that we wrote that is high converting,
Yep.
repurposing it, recirculating it, using it in our sales process. So, okay, fiend for now.
I was gonna add, I think this topic of like consistency, it's of course it's not a bad thing. You want to be consistent when you're creating content because it is going to be a skill that you hone and you get better at over time. But in the beginning, when you're first creating blog posts on your website for the first time, like I kind of alluded to earlier, they're probably not going to be very good when you start. None of us are expert bloggers when we get started. None of us are experts on conversions and what makes people want to buy your product. Chances are you didn't go to school and learn sales psychology. You probably went to school and learned, especially if you're in Jenna's audience, you probably went to school and learned something along the lines of like a health and wellness
Hmm.
industry or like you're a nurse and
Discipline.
now
Yeah,
you're not or
right.
whatever. Um, well, it's not that you're not. Now you're doing it on your own, like you're out in the field
Yeah,
on your own.
right. Yeah, exactly.
Um, one of the students in your group, she works for the USPS and she's trying to break out and get out and do her own thing. And I think
You remember that story. That's
I
fun.
do. Yeah,
Yeah.
she joined my membership. That's why I had
Ah,
called
okay.
her.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so like in the beginning, you're probably just getting started and you're like, you don't even know what to include. And now if you're trying to do it consistently and you're doing all of this labor
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
for nothing in the beginning because chances are you're probably not getting people joining your email list. You're probably not getting people buying the products or the services you're talking about. And that's because this is a skill you're going to learn over time. All of these
Yep.
skills are something that you learn over time. But if you're doing that
It's
and you're
true.
following this concept of just blog every week or blog twice a week, where do you fit in the time to learn the other things?
Yeah, and
and
it gets
the
old really
client.
fast. If you're
Yeah.
putting out lots of content that isn't doing what you want it to, it gets old really fast and it's easy to fall off and not, not be consistent. And then you're just triggering that like identity in your brain that like, oh, I'm someone who starts something like a blog and then doesn't, follow up with it. And that's not good
Mhm.
either. You want to show yourself, you want to set reasonable goals so that you can achieve them and then show yourself, no, I'm the kind of person who does set a goal and
Yeah.
and does it or implements the thing. And that's one of the things I love about the capsule blog library too, is like it's a finite number of posts that you work towards creating. And then once you create it, you can step back and look at it and be like, wow, I have this body of work and now I do get to like leverage it. Although we start leveraging it after you've published the first 4 blog posts. So
Yeah.
you don't wait till the whole library is built to use it to get clients. But yeah, and I do believe that you're right in the beginning, especially without guidance. It's
Yeah.
easy to throw a lot of spaghetti at the wall and feel like discouraged that it's not working. And if that's on your blog, to me, that is almost worse than it is if it's on Instagram in some ways, because on
Yeah.
your blog, it's going to take a little longer to write. My average students these days, they usually come into the program and their first few blogs usually take them around, 3, 4 hours to write. And we try to
Yeah.
optimize that down to a less amount of time, obviously, using the tools inside my program and stuff. But, it's a commitment. It's not like it's an Instagram post that takes you, 10 minutes or a half an hour. It's a blog post. And so if it's not
Yeah.
about the right thing to begin with, if the topic's wrong, or if you really don't know what to say, or you're just educating, but you're not actually selling your offer, so it doesn't end up doing anything for you, again, it can be really frustrating. And so just doing that consistently is like, blah.
Going in the wrong direction.
Exactly. And people know that too. So again, this triggers that perfectionism. I'm like, well, why am I going to do this if I don't know how to do it and I don't have the structure? Why would I want to like make a commitment to like blog every week for the rest of my damn life?
Yeah. No.
Um, so yeah, so to me, the reason why I say blog consistently is bad advice. I do want you to get in front of your ideal client consistently with your main high converting messages, but that doesn't mean you write a new blog post every week or every month even. And also the other thing is like I have students who come into HLC and they write their first few blog posts and they're like, oh, I wrote my blog post and now I feel I should schedule them to drip out over the next, couple of like months. Like I'll
Mhm.
schedule one now and then one 2 weeks from now and then one 4 weeks from now. And I'm like, no, like we don't have to do that either. Like that's another like they're brainwashed somehow into thinking you have to blog consistently. So if you're going to write a bunch of content in the beginning of the program or when you first come into HLC, like you should like schedule them out. And I'm like, no, we don't do that. We don't need to blog consistently. You're not a blogger. You
Yeah.
are a coach with a blog or you're a service provider with a blog and business owner with a blog. And so you can just put all the blogs that you've posted, that you've written, sorry, on your website all at once. And if you want to backdate some of them to do like, that's okay, you can. I don't think that's necessary, but you can. Um, but just having them there as a library that people can come to your website and read all of your most high converting, most important messages so that they get everything they need from you in
Mhm.
one place to feel ready to buy. That's our goal. And so for that reason, there's no need to drip out your blog posts. You just, when you write them and when they're ready to publish, you publish them. And that's how we do it in HLC too. So again, not like thinking like, I'm going to blog like every Tuesday morning, I'm going to release a new blog post. Absolutely not needed for our type of business.
I
So,
mean, I've even gotten to the point to where I'm at most once a month publishing a YouTube video on Tuesdays. And
mhm.
that's been my polish day. Like I didn't have a video done yesterday. I checked this morning. I don't have an edit ready. I know Sonia's working on it and she'll be done when she's done. So
Yeah,
it might come out tomorrow. It might not come out this week at all, but I'm still going to be sending emails this week, and that's fine.
yep. And how many YouTube subscribers do you have now?
Oh, I don't even know. I don't even look at it anymore, to be honest with you. I think it's
Let's look.
north of 20,000.
Amazing. So good.
I just don't know. I don't even have YouTube Studio on my phone anymore. I used to have it on my phone and I would check like every single day.
Okay.
22,856.
Amazing. Great job. And I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. Like, you don't, you're not concerned about that at this point too, because you have gained a lot of traction with your YouTube account. Now, YouTube has an algorithm.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, when you're first starting a YouTube channel, it might make sense to try to release videos every morning, every Tuesday morning or something like that. But technically, blogs aren't really like that. I mean, technically, if SEO is part of your strategy, Yes, Google has an algorithm. And that's part of where this whole blog consistently thing came from as well, is
Yeah.
that bloggers who survive on traffic, which is not what we survive on as business owners, but bloggers wanted to please the Google gods. And so they felt if they, published consistently that that would work best. And if SEO is like a main focus of yours, and again, if you need hundreds of thousands of hits to your website, every month in order to qualify for an ad network and then get paid from an ad network or through affiliate links, maybe you do want to blog consistently and drop a new blog every Tuesday morning. But that's not how we monetize. We monetize by
No.
having people who want to buy our offers come to our blog, read our blog, and learn from it the things that they need to learn to feel ready to buy. And that's what our blog is for.
Even legacy bloggers who do monetize through display ads, at some
Hmm.
point they stop blogging
Yeah, and start improving
and
existing
they
blogs
just
more than anything. Yeah.
maintain. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point too. Yeah. So that's the first one is blog
Let's talk
consistently.
about
Bad advice, in my opinion, if you're a coach or a service provider or you have your own product that you're selling.
let's talk about your second one, which is just write about what you know.
Yes. Again, it's like one of those things you hear when you're like, let's say you are a dating coach and you've decided you're sick of Instagram posting and you really want a more of a thought leadership place on your own website. You want to
Yeah.
lean into evergreen content and have your own blog, right? So you're excited to start and you go and you try to figure out from people like, okay, what should I blog about? Let's say you Google that, like I'm starting a blog about dating. What should I blog about? Some of the advice you're going to get, or if you ask human people about it, they'll be like, well, what's your experience? What do you know? Blog about what you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you shouldn't blog about what you know. I'm not saying like, actually, you should blog about what you don't know. Like, it's not that, obviously. I'm not saying that. But what I think happens is that as someone who is an expert at something, whether you like to think of yourself that way or not, some of my students resonate with the word expert, whether I'm calling them a gut health expert or a Pinterest expert or a
Yeah.
website strategy and design expert, or some of them don't resonate with the word expert. And actually, a lot of time it's my dating coaches that don't resonate with that word. Um, but like what happens is when you just focus on only writing what you know, you tend to lean into content that is experty and also content that is on topics that
Yeah.
you think are important, but that your audience hasn't really gotten to the point where they understand it's important.
Yeah.
And so you end up writing content about things that don't feel important to them, and therefore you end up with crickets and people don't read your content.
Yeah.
So an example of that would be, let's say you're a web designer and you're thinking, well, what do I know about web design? Like, what do I want to impart to people? If I want to write what I know, what should I write? And you think, well, let's write a post about how the customer journey and the UI design, right? User interface
Hmm.
design on a website is so important if you want to make sales in your business. So you start writing about that. But the thing is like most people who have websites and would potentially hire you to help them with theirs don't really care much and don't notice when you're talking about customer journey and UI design. They're just focused on the problems that they have that they want to solve. And so they see your post about UI design and they're like, that doesn't, I don't, that they don't even notice it. They just keep scrolling because it doesn't even register because it doesn't feel relevant to them or important to them. But meanwhile, they're super frustrated because people are landing on their website, but they're not filling out their inquiry form. And the website designers watching this know that those two things are the same thing,
Yeah.
right? So I think what happens is that, like, my point is like if you have poor UI design, that's what happens. People land on your blog, I mean your website, but they don't actually do anything there. And so the website designer is like screaming, like, but if you had better UI design, then you would have people filling out your inquiry form, right? But no one cares about your content because you're positioning it wrong. So when we really just write about what we know, and instead what I want you to do instead, and I tell people all the time, write on a sticky note, put it up in the room where you create your content. Stop writing what you want to teach people. Stop thinking when you sit down to create content, what do I want to teach people, or what do I want to educate them about? And instead think, what does my ideal audience need from my content to feel ready to buy my offer? That's
Hmm.
the shift. And sometimes those things are not like they're not mutually exclusive. Like there's overlap between those things. It's not like you aren't going to teach anybody anything. But thinking about it that way is really what you know. So going from just I'm going to write a blog about the things I know to I'm going to write a blog with the things that my ideal audience needs to feel ready to buy my offer. That's the shift that makes all the difference.
Yeah,
So yeah,
great advice.
it's better advice. It's better than just write what you know.
It's better advice. Just use AI to do the whole thing for you.
Oh yeah, that's great advice too, right? I mean, we weren't going to talk about that one, but that would be a good one is like use AI to write a blog and then, people will come in droves and find your website because you're using AI to put out a bunch of
Ugh.
content about your topic. Blah.
The amount of people I've had
So
come into
bad.
my program and they're like, I just use ChatGPT to create a blog post for me and I just put that on my website. And I'm just like, I'm not here to
Yeah.
give you blog advice. I'm here to give you Pinterest advice. So let's talk about your Pinterest account.
That's so interesting. And so is it because they want to have things to send Pinterest pins to? And so they're like, oh, well, I'll just use ChatGPT to
Yeah.
write a blog. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they've heard that you should have blog content if you want to market on Pinterest, and they just create the
Well, that's
lowest
correct.
quality
Yeah.
content
Right.
imaginable.
So they took that super literally. Excuse me, they took that super literally. They heard someone say you need a blog for Pinterest to work, which is true, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, well then I'll have a blog, right? And they like slap up some slop and now it's gonna work.
I created 25 blog posts this week.
Yeah. And I mean, just to be okay, like so we'll take a second just to explain why we're like gagging over here. It's because it's not just about that. It's not just about getting traffic to the blog from Pinterest.
Yep.
It's about what the blog does when people get
It's
there and the difference
and
between them landing there and continuing and staying on the page, skimming your blog, reading your blog, following any of the calls to action that you have on your blog is the quality of the content and whether the content is, again, relevant. And
yep.
yeah, so yeah, I mean, I could rant about this because this is what I teach inside HLC is how to write blog posts that people actually
Want to
skim and
read?
read, right? Skim or read and buy from, or
Yep.
book calls to buy, with the intent to buy from. So
Yeah.
AI slot blogs are not where it's at, people.
It's not. And
Yeah.
what's the difference between you putting AI slop on your website and someone else using AI to ask the same exact thing and
Mhm.
reading it from the AI tool?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
What sets you apart? What sets you apart is your brain and the effort you put in and the experience behind it of that message that you want to send to your audience. So,
Yes. 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 You're absolutely right. That's an interesting way to think about it. Another thing I heard recently is like, and it made me think, it seems like an obvious statement, but if you really think about like what is underneath it, it gets your wheels turning. People said like everyone wants to use AI to write content, but nobody wants to read AI content. And it's interesting because it's true. It's like everyone wants to use it because they feel like, oh, okay, that's going to help me like spit out a whole bunch more content and it's going to be so much faster and easier for me. So I'm going to figure out a way to like make it sound like me and whatever. But at the end of the day, everyone also feels like if you don't always know you're reading a piece of AI content because if somebody did a good job with it, which it is possible to do, then you might not know.
yeah,
But like whether you know or not, if you think about sitting down and reading a blog post and you think like, oh, if this person wrote this with AI, like all of a sudden it changes the relationship you have with that piece of content because now you don't feel like you're actually getting a download from a soul. You're getting something that was just it's just a bunch of code. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, how are
yeah.
you gonna, yeah, it's very interesting. Anyway, I don't know if I'm articulating my thoughts, but yeah, in a way that they're landing, but
There's a gal that I follow on Instagram. She's a copywriter and I really respect what she does. She's really very good at her job. And she was just last week talking about how AI companies are hiring human copywriters and they're paying them like multiple six figures a year. So it's definitely an interesting thought of
should,
why aren't the AI companies just using their own AI tool to write their content if they
yeah,
think it's so great? Like,
Are they,
And
so she was saying they're hiring human copywriters to write their own like marketing and sales copy. So like when you go to like
yeah,
the Anthropic website, the copy that you're reading that tells you about their business, their brand, what their tools are, that's written by humans, is basically what she's saying, right? They're not using AI to write their copy,
no,
right? Or at least not AI without human supervision or whatever. Yeah, interesting.
I
Yeah. Hmm.
I didn't want to derail you there. I could
Nah.
definitely take you off of a rabbit hole. The last thing that you wanted to talk about was um, keyword research.
Ooh, gosh, this is a big one. Yeah, so we had three on our list for today, and we're going to talk about some more bad blog advice next week too. But the first one was blog consistently is bad advice. The
Yeah.
second one was just write what you know. Um, we snuck another one in there, which is like just write AI, use AI to write blog posts, and it'll work
Hmm.
great for you, right? But then the originally what was going to be the third, but is now really the fourth, is the idea that you shouldn't write blog posts unless there's a keyword that you're focusing on.
Yeah.
And this one is so prevalent out there.
Now, I feel like
And
you need to give a bit of a caveat because you're not
Mhm.
talking to bloggers who are like through hikers who are teaching people how to through hike, who are only writing like niche hiking content. You're talking to coaches and service providers and course coaches, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, this is all, yeah, the idea here is that this is bad blog advice if you are someone who is using a blog to sell your own services or your own
Got it.
products, right?
That's
So
what
it
I
could
wanted to
be,
get out of you.
right, coaching services, just regular, business services like
Mhm.
copywriting, for example, web design, Pinterest marketing, if you're a Pinterest manager. Or if you sell your own products, whether they're digital products like a course like mine, although mine's kind of more of a program, or even physical products. Like if your goal with your blog and the way you make money with your blog is by using your blog to get more people buying your offer,
Yeah.
then these things we're talking about are not good advice because they are meant for people who monetize differently.
Yeah.
Um, and I love Google SEO, don't get me wrong. Like I benefited in my business and I still benefit to this day from Google SEO, but I just believe that it's not the best place when you are starting a blog that is there to sell your services or products. And
Yeah.
this is a hill I will die on. I have a blog post all
I
about
think
this, which
you
gives the more
have,
nuanced perspective on it. And we have some videos that we've done live streams on this channel about this topic, which we can link in the description if people want more nuance on it. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, I was going to say, I think
Mhm.
we have a YouTube video on this.
I'm sure we do because I talk about it like I'll rant about this for hours if you let me. Um, but yeah, I definitely believe that. And I'll just say a couple things and then I'll leave it there and let people who want to learn more about this read that blog and watch our other more in-depth YouTube video about this topic. But it is my strong belief that if you are starting a blog
Hmm.
and the main goal is to sell your offer with your blog, that you shouldn't worry at all about keywords and search keywords or any keyword research or anything like that until you have at least 10 blog posts on your blog that are covering the key things that your audience needs to hear and learn and understand more deeply to feel ready to buy your service or product.
Yeah.
So identifying what those things are, which is the first thing that we do inside my program, and then writing those blog posts. This is how I did it. This is how everyone I know who ranks on Google these days who has a business like mine, where I'm selling an offer, I'm not a blogger monetizing through Mediavine ads. This is how everyone I know started ranking on SEO by just writing what their audience needed and naturally getting indexed by Google. And then down the road, you can always optimize for that. That's how it worked
Yeah.
for me. Year and a half in or so, I started noticing some of my blogs that I wrote based on what people needed to feel ready to buy were
Hmm.
ranking on page two, page one, page three, and I worked on getting those up in the rankings. But
Yeah.
if you try to start out of the gate by only writing around keywords, it's very easy to be very discouraged, confused, not feel like you like what you're writing.
Hmm.
And I've talked to so many people who tried starting a blog that way and just fell off of it or never even published their first post because writing around keywords didn't feel to them, um, it didn't feel good in some way. And I'm not saying everything we do in business needs to feel great. I'm just saying like it really didn't work for them. And
It
so
it can
that's,
definitely be like a mind
Mhm.
block in the beginning because you're
I thought you were going to say something
constantly
else.
well, I was going to, but I don't want to I don't want to lose all my monetization on my channel, what like
Right, right. Yeah.
$200 I earn.
Mhm.
Um, yes, it can be like a mind block for some people to only write around keywords or be looking at keyword research constantly because you're constantly comparing yourself to everyone else in
That's
that
part of
search
it. Yep.
result. And
Yep.
you're never going to rank against the likes of like Neil Patel or the guy that owns the SEO company that is
Right.
bald. I can't remember his name right now.
What
You're
is his
never
name?
going
I can
to
picture his
rank
face,
against
but I
those
yeah.
people.
Hmm.
Or the SEO companies, or Google, or
Yeah. In
Pinterest
my
and Reddit.
right, and exactly. And with a lot of my students, it's like they sit down to try to write a blog to rank for something that they're never going to outrank, like Johns Hopkins or
Yeah,
MindBody Green on or something like that. And then because the keyword feels
Cleveland
forced to them
Clinic.
anyway, right? Because the keyword feels forced to them anyway, they don't end up finishing the blog. They leave it in
Mhm.
their Google Drafts, and then they're like, that sucked. I'm not doing that again, right? Whether consciously or unconsciously, that's what they're thinking. And so they never start that blog. And again, that brings you back to that place where you're just stay either hidden or you
Yeah,
stay, dependent on social media, which isn't really working that well to begin with for a lot of people these days, especially people who are just getting started in business.
yeah, it's tough.
So
It's a tough sell.
yeah, yeah. So that's, I would say that's probably the biggest example of blog advice that does what you were talking about at the beginning of our live stream, Heather, which is like kind of triggers like that perfectionism and gets you sort of in this place where you think you have to do something perfectly in order to do it at all to start where you don't. So yeah.
Next week, we're talking about the same thing. We just have a few more examples that we wanted to dive into that are, um,
More Jana ranting about bad blog advice, basically.
I was going to say a different flavor.
Yep. And then the week after that, what's our next topic? Give people a
That's a
little
good
bit of a
question.
preview.
I have bad blog about advice for May 27th, and then June 3rd, we have why some Pinterest accounts grow while others stall.
Mm, that is an
So
interesting topic.
we're taking a pivot back towards Pinterest that week,
Yep.
which just happens to be my membership's fifth birthday week.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
That was good timing.
Um, okay, well, if you guys
Okay.
are interested in hearing more from us, make sure you head over to the front end of this YouTube channel and click get notified on the upcoming YouTube lives. They always happen on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And we'll see you back here
All right.
next next week.
Okay. More bad blog advice to come next week.
More bad blog advice. Come visit us. Okay.
All right. Sorry I talk so much.